So we're going to make a start on the angel's dress first, and I like doing an anchor point because we're going to be working on the comb, and I do this just by curling the end, rolling it around the needle until it starts rolling. Once you've got it around the needle, make sure your lines are straight because this will be your anchor point, so this is a bit where you want it to be as straight as possible. Bob a bit of glue on there and then leave that to dry. Done this a few times where I've not left it dry and it's ended up causing me problems down the line. Once that's dry, you can take that off and we're going to curl it. Reason being is I found when you do this, if you're using a thicker paper like what this is, it generally folds instead of goes around smoothly. So we're going through the second gap. So there's 1, 2 gaps. So we're over the second prong. I'm going to put a little bit of glue at the top here, and then wrap it around the first one again. Going round the same one, so the second one. Glue at the top. Try and keep it as straight as you can. Then back to the first one. Then we're going through the third gap, so after the third prong. Going in there, bit of glue at the top. Nice and lined up. Again, back round the third prong. So we're going around each prong twice, just so I can get the skirt looking nice and full. So we've gone around that one twice, so we're going into the next one. Bit of glue on top. Back to the first one. Again, back round the same one. Glue at the top. Don't need a lot of glue. Just holds it in place for when we actually take it off. The comb, everything stays nice and lined up. So we're going through the next one. Glue at the top. And we're basically doing this for the full quilling strip. So around each prong twice, and then before you move on to the next one. Last one, put it through, bit of glue on the end, and then wherever that falls, stick it down. All these marks will be hidden by the next one that's going to be put down, so I'm not fussed around that. So whilst it's on the comb, this end we want to keep as round as possible, but this end we want to sort of pinch it a little bit because that's going to be the top of the dress. We'll leave that to dry. So I'm going to bring in my corkboard, and it's just a bit of parchment paper on the top, just stops this sticking to the bottom of it. And we're going to take this off the comb. It's just a matter of sliding it off. And then because we have stuck this at the bottom, all those lined up and it doesn't sort of twist inside, so that's what it looks like. So I made a few more of these. Weren't sure how many I'd actually need for the dress, but I'm thinking 5. So let's get 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, Stacey can count. Like I said, we want to keep the bottom rounded and the top pinched. So we're going to be doing that kind of thing. Now on the outer layers, they're going to need to come out a little bit. Because the top of this point, that's going to be like the body part of it, and then the bottom comes down into the skirt. So first we're going to start off by gluing these all together. We've got 3 glued together there. I'm just going to hold that in place to dry, but I'm pinching the top to make it as narrow as possible. I'm just going to let that dry. Just a little handy tip: if you want to hold these together without actually keeping hold of them, you can grab some reverse grip tweezers and put them on there, or I actually like using these. They're soft enough at the top so they don't make marks. Plus these are going to be on the inside anyway, and I can just leave that to dry. So they're all nice and dry, and we want to stick these 2 on the outside, so I'm just making sure that the line where we're actually finished gluing is on the inside, so that when I stick it to it, it's not going to show. What I'm going to do is just curve this a little bit at the top, just so it goes in more towards the body, and then the same on this one. And I'm going to pin down my work so it doesn't move about, and we can go ahead and glue them on. And then just where I want them to sort of push in a bit more, I'm going to put another couple of pins in to hold it. And this is going to be the back side, so we can put a little bit of glue on this top bit to hold it in. And we'll leave that off to dry while we start on the next part. We're now working on the arms. So I took a strip and I'm going to split that into 2. And we're going to do basically the same as what we did for the dress, but in a shorter length. So I'm just making my anchor point again on the needle. I'm going to pull that off, leave that to dry whilst I do the next one. They're now dry. I'm going to do exactly the same thing as earlier, only in a shorter length. So around the second one, bit of glue on the top. And I didn't curl it. You do notice a difference when you're doing it, that you can see little sort of fold marks as you're turning it over if you don't do the curl first. Okay, then through the third one, glue at the top. Repeat that one, glue at the top. Now on the fourth one, glue at the top. Take that off and let it dry. And we'll do it again. Now with these, I want to make it more pointed at the top to where it joins the dress. But the bottom bit, I want a bit more of a flat area, so I'm going to pinch it and push it, because this is going to be where the sleeve and the hand goes. So I'm just making that into more of a flat shape. Same with this one, more pointed at the top. Push up from the bottom. Try and keep that middle hole in the middle, if possible. Just want to make sure they're the same width. Once you're happy with them, we can glue them onto the dress. I want the shape to sort of go the opposite way, so the sleeve flares out. That's the kind of shape I'm after. Let's replicate it. And we'll glue them down. Now we need some hands. So we need a quarter of a strip of this pink for the hands. So a quarter for each hand. I'm just going to put this on the quilling machine, roll it into a coil and then loosen it up a little bit just for it to be able to be shaped. So that's the two for the hands. Now for the face, I'm going to shape those ones they've dried. For the face, I don't want a hole in the middle of a face. So I come up with this little method a while ago where I just put a little bit of water on my hand. Just run it down, you know, the last eighth of the strips, maybe a bit more. And I put a little bit of glue on the tip of my finger. And then rub it till it starts feeling a bit tacky. Depending on how much water you've got on your finger, you'll be able to feel it start going tacky. When it starts going tacky, then you can start rolling this. And it just gives you a bit of grip, and also seals that first sort of turn that you do. Now unfortunately you can't see a lot of this because it is in between my fingers, but basically I'm rolling it backwards and forwards till I find it starts to roll. Once it starts rolling, it sticks to itself, so you don't have any problems there. And you've already got a nice tight coil forming there. So that's all stuck together at the base, so all you need to do then is just continue rolling. And I like to roll it backwards and forwards between my fingers, flip it over so I'm not losing the grip, and roll it back the opposite way. Otherwise I find it starts coming loose again. And then this just keeps it all nice and together. The only issue with doing it like this is you can't do it on the machine. So if you struggle doing the quilling by hand, you know, just use this when you need to use it. Right, so that's the face. The hands are needing to go into a semicircular kind of shape. I'm just going to try and hold it where the line joins, and that's the bit I'm going to stick on the actual dress. So I'm using my finger and thumb to keep it nice and rounded on that side, and on this side I'm just going to push it in with my nail to make it flat. Obviously if you don't have nails you can use something like this. Again, that line at the top, push it down as you're holding it, and then we can go ahead and glue these hands on so she's got some hands on her arms. I'm running out of pins. We've got some little arms. So for the hair I've got a couple of different colours of brown, or different shades of brown. These ones are 3mm, just because I want a bit of dimension in her hair if possible. I'm going to cut these to enough because I want a bit of a curl on there as well. We'll go that size. So I'm just putting some at the top for now, because I'm not exactly sure where I want the placement of the hair to go. I've got a couple of different layers of brown. We can always give her a haircut at the end. That was more detail than what I wanted to go into, but once I started I couldn't stop. I'm going to take all of these pins out now because we're going to be working on the front side of this girl. Let's turn her over. And the hair will also give me some support at the back. And I want to put some glue on her hair. Ended up putting a hole in her face anyway just to pin this down. I think that'll be enough there for now. Let's work on the halo. So because this is a flat back project, so we're going to stick it to a card, we're obviously going to have to keep the front circular, rounded, but the back's going to have to be flat, so we are going to turn this into a semicircle. I'm going to put glue because I want this to be as sort of stiff as I can get it on here. I'll snip that off and we'll let that dry. Let's see if her halo fits. So again, I'm going to keep one end between my finger and thumb because that's the best way I've found to keep something circular. And then push gently with a tool or your nail or your finger, whatever you want to do it with. And then it's just a matter of getting this stuck on her head. Yeah, that's actually quite a good size. Let's get a halo glued on and then we need to work on her wings. So for the halo, I'm going to put a small amount of glue on my board and dip the halo in so we're not getting too much glue all over the top of her head. Dip, 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 dip. Just make sure you've got it all completely covered. You don't want the halo to slip on this little girl. We'll work on her wings next. I'm thinking, so it looks like it's coming from behind her, I'm going to use 3mm white rather than for the 5mm, and that way it looks like it's sat back further away from her. So for the wing, I'm sticking 2 pieces of 3mm wide quilling strips together in white. These are a slightly different white to the dress. I wanted the wings to be just a touch different. I wanted them still to be white, but I wanted them a different sort of white. So I'm going to roll this on the machine. Let's take that off. I'm going to put it in the stencil board on this one and then just let that unravel. Okay, and where that end is, where we joined it together, on the opposite side I'm going to get my reverse grip tweezers. I'm going to put one end in the middle there and the other end opposite. Just make sure your layers are all lined up, and then we're going to pull opposite and we're going to crease where that joint is. I'm going to make a simple teardrop shape. Now at this stage I find it easier for me to glue this surface whilst it's on my tweezers, because I can just lie that down to dry. I'm just going to put a nice coat of glue on the back. Generally more towards this end rather than further up. And yeah, you are going to get it on your tweezers. It's inevitable, but it's only like washing your hands. Just wash your tweezers afterwards. Or another good trick I found is using an alcohol wipe. It takes it off as well. Right, so I'm going to leave that to dry. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to bring the angel back over. And as I said before, when we turn her over, she's going to be sort of raised up because of the wings that we're putting on the back. So to tackle that, all I'm doing is getting the same size quilling paper that I'm using for the wings. So this is 3mm, and I'm just going to roll this, and I'm going to use it as a spacer. Also gives you something to actually stick it to the card with. So if you're fussy about the back, which I'm not because this is going to be stuck to a card, you can integrate this into the design. But I'm not particularly bothered about this one because it's going flat on a card. So I'm just going to pop it in the middle. As long as it's not in the way of the wings, I'm happy to do that. So our angel is all dry and our wings are all dry. So now it's just a matter of sticking them on. I was wondering which way to put these. I could have them that way or that way, but I actually think I prefer the look of that because it sort of follows the shape of the arm at the same time. And once they're on, that's how she'll look. So let's get them glued on. Now I've got them in a kind of area that I want. I was going to glue them directly to the back, but when I turned it over before I actually tried to glue it, the wings weren't in the right place. So I thought if I work from the front it'd probably be better. So I've put the wings how I want them, and then I'm just going to slide her over there just to make sure I'm happy with all the placements of that, which I am. So now I've got those wings secured in place, I'm just going to put a dab of glue between these, and then I'm going to glue the back of the angel so I've got a definite place where it's going to stick to. And this is going to be obviously the back of the angel, so we're not going to see all these bits of glue, so I'd rather have a good coat on there than it for it to just start falling apart. Get her in position of where I want her. And then just to make sure that she doesn't move about, I'm just going to put a couple of pins to hold her in place. Just till it dries. Right, so she's all dry. Let's just take these out very carefully because it's pointless spending all this time and effort and then pulling it all apart as you pull the pins out. In this video I'm not going to be decorating this, just because I've got plans to use these on cards for Christmas, and I will be doing the decorating on the actual card when I've got the full layout of how it's going to look. But there you go, yeah, little angel, Nice and cute. There she is, all cute. You could put a face on there, but I'm quite happy to leave that it is. Unfortunately, the hole has got a bit bigger in the middle just because I've been using pins to actually put it against the cardboard, but you get the idea of how to quill a Christmas angel. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you're liking and subscribing so that you can check out the rest of the Quillmas series that I've done. I have made a playlist for all the Quillmas projects that I've done for this year, so please go and check that out. You can watch all those over there. Okay, thanks for watching everybody. Bye!